corner fence and will stick.
We have a new lead.
Mexico Fall Tour. 3-star throughout the week and a fantastic Grand Prix under the lights last night. Today is the Sunday afternoon afterwards, and we get set for the Banco BANORTE Meter 40 Classic. It's a jump-off class here. We're going to see some of the riders that we haven't actually seen in international action since the Cadillac Meter 40 here on Thursday evening. But still a good mix of our riders who've been instrumental in delivering some of the top sport in those world ranking classes as well. Guilherme Jorge, our course designer here, the Brazilian with the Olympic reputation and form on his CV, sets a first round track quite long here and an 82 seconds time allowed. Let's see how it plays out. We actually start with the perfect start really in Nick Pizarro. Nick, who was the winner of the Grand Prix last night with Farino de Guinfort, and Nicholas starts today with Celestial. So Celestial, the La Silla bred for Nick. First to go here. Let's say quite a long course with that 82 seconds time allowed. We're still looking to go at 375 meters a minute. That shade under 14 miles an hour. Again, we've seen some of the features of the courses earlier on in the week come through. This is actually the line last night from the Play Do It down to the triple combination. And you can see why, Guilherme with his course designing team just looking to try and recycle some of the questions, having finished quite late last night. But, we're working there over by the in-gate. We've got a very, very early double in the course. We had an early double in the course last night, also in the 3-star Grand Prix. His double there at 8AB is in quite natural colours. The Mexican Federation, there are two Mexican Federation fences, the glossy black one and this one in the Mexican colours. And a combination or a course today with the 3 doubles rather than a triple combination. So this is the third and final double, and then a slight bending line to the last. Nick is just going to be into time penalties. I wouldn't imagine that they would feel that they are going to be looking at. In fact, it was a late adjustment. I had heard that, but I was going with what I was told. 82 seconds. I think we'll be looking at actually at an 80 seconds time allowed. So Nick Pizarro will be 4 for jumping and 4 for time. Jose Madariaga Gonzalez. Jose Madariaga Gonzalez Ulloa for Mexico is our next to go with Kebel FZ. Oh, sorry, this is Daniel Rehan. In fact, we're just being told actually that it was Jose Madariaga who we saw. We will catch up on that. So Daniel Rehan, Tentacion LS La Silla. Rehan's, of course, intrinsically involved here at OTOMI, and we're going to see 2 members of the family today, and John Perez, who rides with them too. So through the very natural colour double. So the second double on course for Daniel Rihan and Tentation. Just catches the front rail off the Oxer there, close to home, so it is coming home with 4 faults. Watching the time, oh, just inside, 79.89. The judges will have one more horse and rider pair to watch before they have to decide whether they feel that the time is correctly measured. And it's not just about correctly measurement, but you know, they will speak carefully with Guilherme as well about whether they feel a little bit like last night. There's so much turning on the course, there's not a real opportunity to get back above the average rate of advance and make that time very achievable. And they want to create not only a fair playing field, but also an enjoyable playing field, so the horses aren't being pushed too far out of their comfort zone. So a real balancing act there. It's not just pure mathematics. So Jose Maria Quintana Melgoza and Kebel FZ. Kebel jumping some meter 35s with us here last week with the 2-star that underpinned the 5-star top tour at OTOMI. Jose Maria youth championships in the past for Mexico, and now keeping his hand in frequent at the international tours here in Mexico. Of course, 2 more good weeks of sport coming up just shortly in La Silla. Jose Maria Quintana just taking the back rail off the Oxer through the stone-coloured or the rock-coloured double at 8. Just has to push a little bit at the last to see the horse looking down into the base of it. It is 4 and inside the time. So at the moment, Daniel Rihan and Jose Maria Quintana Melgoza share that score of 4, which is the best in the clubhouse. And until we get a better score, a 3, a 2, a 1 for time, or of course, best of all, a 0 for a clear, we are looking at having those 2 jump off to decide. Going on there, Nicole Velasco Magana. FC Ocala Grand Prix horse for Nicole back at the end of last month in Jalapa. And again, another rider not long since a run of appearances at youth championships for Mexico, including riding this horse Ocala to individual 4th at the juniors at Traverse City in Michigan back in 2021. So staying with the double of verticals down to the play do it. That line from last night, certainly at this level, this height, and actually probably with some adjustments to the distances, jumping much sweeter for the meter 40 Classic last night in the meter 50 Grand Prix. It was a significant test and challenge coming in the other direction with the double of verticals as it now is, being the B and C element of the triple combination line. Still on the 0 at the moment. And they're going to post our first clear round here in the BANORTE Classic. The time is very, very good. It's an excellently ridden round. And Nicole Velasco-Magana and FC Ocala 75-70 give us clear round number 1. And now it needs to be clears all the way for our jump off field here in the meter 40 Classic. Final day of 2 excellent weeks of sport here in OTOMI. Let's see who's going to take this final international class of the meeting. This final international class of the weekend with a total prize fund of $22,500 US. Fabienne Sahanis and Tekken LS. Fabienne for Argentina was 4th in the world ranking play do it 2 phase with this horse on Thursday. Fabienne, a Tokyo Olympian for Argentina. Tekken as well, we were just sort of following the path through the 2 weeks here. One of the horses that jumped 2-star last week and stays with it. Seeing this week is a little bit of a step up. There are other horses jumped 5-star last week, so staying here and just, you know, tapering a little bit through the 3-star this week at OTOMI, but great to stay in the same venue for 2 weeks. And also, you know, 2 quite different weeks with Gerard Deschat designing last weekend and Guilherme Georges designing this weekend, giving 2 real different flavors to the weeks of the Mexico Fall Tour here in OTOMI as well. But Fabienne Sahanis of Argentina, an Olympian, is not going to make it through with the jumping clear, though it is unfortunately 3 for time for Fabienne. So that means it is still Nicole Velasco-Magana, our only clear round, although Fabienne Sahanis does leave all the rails standing. So the first in the ring was Jose Madriaga Gonzalez Ulloa, with actually a total of 12 in the final analysis. We go back now to Nick Pizarro and Celestial. So Nick with the Grand Prix victory last night, another Olympian in our field here. And again, you just saw Nick Pizarro there. He wanted to make that big adjustment with Celestial. The horse didn't come right back. You actually could see quite clearly that they were close in to the A element of that rock-coloured double, the middle of the 3 doubles on course. So unfortunately, Nick carrying faults at the moment, leaving Nicole Velasco-Magana as our only clear still. And unfortunately the last as well in time. So we've got 4 from the clock for time. It is 12 for jumping, 4 for time for Nick Pizarro and the Mexican bred, the La Silla horse Celestial. Augustin Lera now, Augustin with Gloire de la Race. Augustin, another of our Argentinian contingent here in OTOMI. Augustin, who took the runner-up spot in the winning round competition here with us on Friday in OTOMI. And this is the first international week for Augustin here at San Miguel, having last been in international action with his string of horses, including this horse jumping at 5-star meter 50 during the September show at Jalapa. Just letting the horse move a little bit to the left there over the play dirt. There's enough time here as they swing back for them to push out any error that might have induced in the approach. Very, very close. They're danced across the top of that vertical. And yeah, now they're in trouble, unfortunately, at the rocks at the end of the line. So Augustin Lara carrying 4 with Gloire de la Race. So Augustin and Gloire de la Race can join the ranks of the clears and give us that assured jump off with Nicole Velasco and FC Ocala are only clear. Late rail and of course the first part of the rocks double for Augustin and Gloire de la Race, making it that total of 8. 78.75 the time taken for the Argentinian. The runner-up in last night's Grand Prix, John Perez and Douai de Menil. Pan American Games rider several times over for Colombia. So would have been a great winner in his own right if no Mexican could overtake him. He ended up second, Nick Pizarro, with the win last night. John Perez's ride here for the meter 40 classic is Douai de Menil. I think we see John Perez a second time as well with King of Pop later on as well. Again, you could just feel a tiny bit like you're riding a sort of purple patch after that performance last night, and let that confidence trickle down to these meter 40 horses here on the final day. Of course, certainly not a giveaway. Guilherme, very, very conscious that even down at meter 40, he is designing for 3-star, and he has to apply that level of technicality. People, you know, should be expecting the 3-star technicality, and if they answer the question, feel confident, you know, to go to higher level competitions within 3-star, to be considering stepping up to 4-star with these horses, because this is the right level. So John Perez, unfortunately, with, again, it's going to be quite a late rail. It is 4 faults in 77.42. All of our 4 faulters now being divided by time. So we've got Nicole Velasco clear. We've got Fabian Sahanes with 3 for time. And we've got John Perez now, the fastest 4 faulter in 77.42. Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo Barragán. This is Helios de Heian, a very, very good horse for Juan Carlos here this weekend. Third in the Cadillac 2 phase, the meter 42 phase, and third in the winning round competition. Can they make it another podium finish here in the BANORTE meter 40 classic? Juan Carlos beyond the international stage here, like a lot of the riders here with horses across the divisions. There are 3 rings running here on the busiest days in OTOMI with some small tour classes and also some young horse classes, and Juan Carlos taking a win in a 6-year-old young horse class over the course of this Mexico Fall Tour as well. There's plenty who've had that rock double down, and there's very few who've gotten through it without touching it in one way or another, and Juan Carlos joins those ranks, but luck stays on his side. He's still on the 0. So not far to go to be our second clear round. The time is absolutely fine. So Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo Barragan jumps the last, and 77.77 on the clock. It is clear all the way, and that now importantly is clear round number 2, meaning we absolutely have a jump off on our hands here for the BANORTE Meter 40 Classic, our final international class of the week and of the 2 weeks here at OTOMI. Martina Franco Stefan, Ecuador de Beaufort. Martina, who won that winning round competition earlier on this week, that was with her other horse, Du Stemero. Ecuador de Beaufort, a class winner in Jalapa. Actually, multiple class wins for Ecuador de Beaufort at meter 35 level. This meter 40 class here with the jump off format be just a nice step up for this horse. Martina, probably one of the most successful riders at this middle level, meter 35 to meter 45, during this autumn series of excellent shows here in Mexico, with those several wins across both of her horses, this one Ecuador and Du Stemero. And again, the rocks, and I don't think they need to be as conscious as we were last night about the time allowed, but Martina Franco Stefan certainly was hustling down that line, and again you just end up with that quite flat. You take a bit of the quality out of the jump when you push the horse beyond its average comfortable rate of advance. So low 77, 77.28. There was a little bit to play with. I think they maybe just could have taken a pull and a balance. And of course, going up to the rock double would have been the place. You just see the back rail coming off the visa as well for Martina Franco Stefan and Ecuador de Beaufort. So that total, therefore, of 8 faults. So Ana Sofia Legorreta Hernandez with Marieka Z Santa Rosa. We saw Ana Sofia with a top 5 in the world ranking play do at meter 52 phase here on Thursday with the other horse, Perla Optima. Ana Sofia, a young rider this summer at Traverse City in Michigan with another Santa Rosa horse, Yoga. Sofia started in the 5-star meter 60 Grand Prix last weekend as well with Perla Optima. Again, getting good value out of the being based here in OTOMI for 2 weeks. It looked like they'd done absolutely the right thing. You could see her balancing the horse right back, bringing the horse back on the hocks. I think when she jumped in, she maybe just didn't hold the horse as securely between her hand and leg and up in front. And again, you just saw the horse take that little bit of a dive through the hands at the B element of the rock double. Another quick rail after it. Ana Sofia Legorreta, Hernandez and Mareka could be another coming home on 8 faults. Taps the last, but it stays. 78.02 and 8 faults for Ana Sofia Legorreta, Hernandez, Mareka, Santa Rosa. To Cuba for our next to go, Rodolfo Marrero Cedeno and Gandhi. Rodolfo has represented Cuba a couple of times at the Central American and Caribbean Games. So first international week of OTOMI with us here during this second 3-star week of the fall tour. And we've seen Rodolfo throughout the top tier of 3-star classes this weekend, including that Play Do It Meter 50 world ranking 2-phase on Thursday. That really was one of the direct preludes to last night's GNP Grand Prix. Looking good at the moment for Rodolfo Marrero, and as we've been seeing, the time is pretty achievable. We're seeing the majority of people coming home in 77 to 79 seconds against that 80 seconds time allowed. Rodolfo, he's going to be snug. Oh my goodness, I think there's going to be time penalties. He boots out the last anyway, and there is 1 for time. So it's 4 for jumping and 1 for time for Rodolfo. You know, he had to take that risk at the last. If it had come off and he got through it, there's a chance he might have just snatched the time. But you could see there, my goodness, if you ever want an example of how your speed can see the arc of the horse's jump change, you know, coming up, actually knocked the top rail of the front of that last fence up rather than down. We get everything reset, and it will be time for a winner here last weekend of the BANORTE Meter 40. During the 2-star week of OTOMI, it was Mestaga and Eduardo Sanchez Navarro. So Eduardo back with us now with Mestaga. This is going to be our 12th or so starter. About a quarter of the way through the starting field, and so far just the 2 clear rounds with us here in OTOMI. In the line that has been so influential. And it does go. Late rail, unfortunately, for Eduardo Sanchez Navarro and Mestaga. circle will come up as a second penalty, but I imagine it's not really a circle. I imagine it's him just schooling away from the fences, and then will eventually indicate that he retires. Yep, a nod of the cap. So Eduardo Sanchez Navarro and Mestaga retiring on course. Those 2 clear rounds for the moment. So Juan Jose Zendejas, Salgado and Kashmir. We saw Juan Jose take a top 10 last night in the GNP Grand Prix. We saw him also second in the Cadillac Meter 42 phase on Thursday with Tikal Elite. And Tikal Elite will be Juan Jose Zendejas' second ride in this BANORTE Meter 40 Classic a little bit later on. Another rider carrying the 0 score, Juan Jose Zendejas here, first of 2 rides for Juan Jose, as we were mentioning. Can he stay clear all the way home? 73.74 seconds. It should be okay on the time. The last goes. Does get the time, 80 seconds time allowed, 79.31 time taken, but with the last down for Juan Jose Zendejas going into 5th place for the moment. 2 clears, then Fabian Sahanis with his 3 for time. And then John Perez, fastest 4-faulter, Juan Jose Zendejas going in just behind that. Then it's Jose Maria Quintana and Daniel Rihan sitting in 7th. Juan Pablo Peresandi Gutierrez, prima donna in the Meter 40 BANORTE Classic last weekend for Juan Pablo Peresandi Gutierrez. Another rider who we're going to see with both of his Meter 40 horses here for the 2nd week in a row in the BANORTE Classic. Tezontle will come a little bit later on. Did a nice job there because, again, you're just interfacing with a couple of interesting points of the ring. You're back near the first fence, you've turned around yourself very quickly, you're over near the in gate as well, and setting up for still, you know, maybe easier than last night, but not easy. The double of verticals and on then to the play do-it fence. Unfortunately, at this next line coming down to the rocks double, the rocks stay up, but the 2 preceding fences are down for 8 faults for Juan Pablo. And after the GNP comes down as well, I think Juan Pablo Peresandi also going to be one to call it a day here in this final international class of the week. Alessandro Neumann Pries is our next on course. Alessandro with the horse Gregory Lou Z. Jumped here in OTOMI in the spring of this year internationally. Jumped in the 2-star during the Longines Global Champions Tour meeting in Mexico City with a top 10 finish in an international there. And with us here back in May. So this is the first international week in OTOMI this autumn for Alessandro and Gregory Liu. So just to underline, you know, the fact that it's been clear so often does not take away from the difficulty of having that double vertical so early on the course. And after turning around the shoulder those couple of times as well, you know, it's your first time that you're really looking down the barrel of a long related distance, and you've got the double verticals at the beginning of that distance. Alessandro Neumann then just not getting the spot to that vertical, and I think we're probably going to have another one. Oh, maybe not, just tip the hat. They pick up the canter again. Perhaps they're just going to go around and jump one more fence to let the horse go out of the arena on a nice experience. Yeah, just pops the Dia de los Muertos Sugar Skulls there at number 2, and that will indicate that they retire. Well, for Glamrock Queen, we have a little bit of ABBA's Dancing Queen in the background. Greta Matienzo. Glamrock Queen. Some very good top 10s at Jalapa in September. And again, a rider we saw with the other horse, Chaledi Fly PS in the spring, through the likes of the Jalapa Spring Series and on into the 2 stars at Mexico City. Say on the Campo Marte, another brilliant big net in Mexico City by Chapultepec Park, right on that side of the city. It's been an incredible venue for the Longines Global Champions Tour, and I know the Mexican riders, the Mexican Federation, always just so pleased to be able to welcome people to the country and show them. And I think, you know, it's paid off a little bit as well in the riders that we now see coming out to the likes of the autumn tours here in Mexico. I know Greg Watley has been out for some of these. Keane O'Connor just out last weekend as well. Plenty of others. Reset Glamrock Queen. Just this final line. The time could be a little snug as they just touch that second rail coming out of the double. They're being quite deliberate here to the last. That'll certainly cost them the time. It is 4 for jumping, 1 for time, 5 in all for Greta Matienzo and Glamrock Queen. So Marcello de los Santos Pizzuto, and Mike Wazowski. Fans of Monsters Inc. might have wondered whether Mike Wazowski was a one-eyed horse. He's not, but he'll have picked up the name for some reason. Marcello over Sugar Skulls, turning back here to BANORTE. So that's fences 1, 2, 3, and as you can see, a right-hand turn, a long left-hand turn. Now your first related distance. The in-gate just over to your right-hand side as well. And you can see Marcello, like many, just having to square the horse up a tiny bit and not have them wiggle and wobble down that line to the play do it. We're seeing a lot just hang, unfortunately, back away from that Visa fence. We've seen the back rail of the Visa come down quite a bit. It can often be from riders over-analysing and over-preparing for something that was previously very influential, like the rock double at the end of the line, and that costing them issues at the beginning of the line. You just have to be, you know, focused at two levels. You have to be focused on your overall plan and what's in the medium distance, but you also have to have very, very good focus on what's right in front of you, the next battle to be fought. I don't know, you can see from the flags, you can hear on the microphones, it is quite windy here in OTOMI today. I don't know whether that's impacting the horses. As I said, a lot of these horses, meter 40, actually haven't been out international jumping pretty much since the Cadillac meter 42 phase here back on Thursday, with you know, an opportunity for the riders to ride multiple horses in the other classes, but with the other classes being meter 45 and meter 50, I think some of these guys have been saying, no, there are two classes for me. There's the Cadillac and then the BANORTE on the weekend. So Marcello de los Santos Pizzuto, 4 for jumping, 3 for time, and Javier Fernandez very nearly coming adrift there with Kiviv Van Het Alkenhoff, as Kiviv unfortunately just refuses out of that first turn on course. And not keen on it at all, unfortunately. So Javier Fernandez and Kiviv Van Het Alkenhoff, they are going to incur elimination. That means we turn over very quickly to our next horse and rider pair here in our BANORTE meter 40 Classic. And it's Ana Barra Garcia and Cassiopeia. Yeah, first week jumping internationally with us here at OTOMI here in October. So, veteran of some meter 35, meter 40 classes during the course of Jalapa's international weeks in September, with a top 5 at meter 40, a top 10 at meter 40 for this particular horse, Cassiopeia. Still remember just the 2 clears qualified for our jump off, Nicole Velasco Magaña and Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo. Doing all right for the moment, Ana Barra Garcia, Cassiopeia. Say this is such an interesting week with some horses coming down for like a sweetening week, tapering somewhat, having been up to the meter 50. Some horses very much at this level between 2- and 3-star shows, jumping meter 35 to 45. And others will be kind of stepping up to this level, and this Classic on the final day, giving them a great opportunity. It is clear, it is with 1 for time, a quarter of a second there. Ana Barra Garcia puts a hand to her head, you know, pleased enough with the jumping performance, but knowing that the time has just kept her out of the jump off. Going into third at the moment with the single time fault behind our two clear rounds, Ana Garcia and Cassiopeia. Mexican rider, part of the Mexican team that were gold medalists at the Central American Caribbean Games at Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. It's Carlos Rodolfo Molino Godillo, Santa Rosa Dulis, his partner here for the BANORTE Classic today. Grand Prix contenders in the GNP 2-star Grand Prix last weekend here in OTOMI. Another one, and interestingly, so far it has just been the A element of that double of verticals, and you know, as much as anything, you know, just trying to measure the flags and the look of things, it potentially seems like you turn that corner and you're facing right into the wind going up that line as well. He wasn't getting the ride he wanted at all there down the line towards the rock double, and I think having sat up, balanced and thought about it, and then having ground to a halt, he felt, well, actually probably retirement is the right answer. So Carlos Rodolfo Molino Godillo electing to retire. Sidlali Elena Martinez Cotes. Sidlali Elena. Right today, Don Quixote. Don Quixote, a podium finisher and a top 5 finisher in meter 35 competitions at Jalapa last month. So Don Quixote and Sidlali just catching the time allowed, 79.78, so it's just a single rail against them. We do have some quite fast 4-faulters, including John Perez. John in 5th place, as fast as 4-faulter with 2 clears with time faults in 3rd and 4th, Ana Garcia and Fabian Sejanes. So Martina Franco, Stefan and Claire 188. Martinez second ride for Martina here in the BANORTE Clasico. Friday winning round winner with Duste Marode. Remember, 11th best qualifiers coming back for that winning round, really making the most of the format to end up as the winners. I say we would just apologize if the wind is affecting your enjoyment through the audio of our class, but it is a real representation of just how breezy and gusty it is out there today on the main ring in OTOMI. So those of you who are a little bit more familiar with horses as well will know, when we start talking about them turning into the wind for that double of verticals early on the course, how impactful that can be. And also if it's gusty, if it's different at different times, it does look to be very consistent. It looks to be very strong but very consistent. But were it to be different at different times, it would create a different scenario at times in the ring for competitors. But some horses really, really don't like it. They don't like it coming at their tails. They don't like it coming into their face. Some don't like either. But Martina is going to be a clear with time. It's going to be 3 for time there with Claire 188. That's a little bit slower than Fabienne Sahanis. That goes into 5th place on the same score. So keeping an eye on the class as we are coming up towards halfway. We will be taking a break at halfway. Jesus Francisco Orantes Hoa. Checo Z. Checo, 2-star meter 45 Grand Prix horse at Jalapa. Also was in the international at Puebla at the beginning of September. I say you only have to look at the schedule, the calendar on Ecuestre Digital to see the huge number of competitions, venues at almost every level. Promising a great winter of sport here in Mexico. Jesus Francisco just looking back over his shoulder at that one to make sure it stayed in place. I think the time might just be a little bit against them. Let's see where they are when they come out of this double, but the 80 seconds time allowed, no, they're not going to get there. So another clear with time. It is going to be, once again, 3 for time for Jesus Francisco. So that is our third to have gone around clear with 3 for time. And Ibarra Garcia went around clear 1 for time. Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo and Nicole Velasco Magaña are only 2 clears inside the time. Nicole Velasco going around in 75 seconds, Marquis. And we've got plenty of good times amongst our 4-faulters, our 4-fault scores, taking us down to Daniel Rehan in 11th position. So as I say, we do go into a short pause here. We've got about just over 10 minutes, I understand, before we're going to rejoin the action, and we have our second half of the drawn order. Working our way through, and some of the riders coming forward, of course, with second horses in that group as well. We've got John Perez certainly coming back to us, just looking for whether we're going to see Nicole Velasco a second time, and also, of course, Juan Carlos Alvarez. I think he is just here with Helios DEM. So potentially it is going to be a single horse per rider in the jump off. I don't think anyone left with an opportunity to get 2 through. So we shall see. But as I say, we will throw it back over to adverts here in just a moment and support our sponsors, the portfolio sponsors, supporting show jumping in Mexico, and in particular these 2 weeks of the Mexico Fall Tour in OTOMI, and we will rejoin the action. Don't go too far away.
¿Ya tienes la app Soy Cliente GNP? Descárgala, regístrate y accede a promociones, eventos y talleres exclusivos. Desde la app puedes consultar, descargar y pagar tus pólizas, obtener orientación médica 24/7 con Médica Móvil, acceder a tu tarjeta digital si tienes seguro médico GNP. Si tienes seguro de auto GNP, puedes solicitar asistencia vial. Guarda tus datos en la guantera digital. Disfruta todos los beneficios de ser cliente GNP. Vivir es increíble.
No lo quiero, lo necesito. Que mis viajes sean perfectos. Hacer todo desde donde esté. Que me reconozcan en todo momento. Tener ventajas en cada compra. Contrata tu tarjeta de crédito BANORTE en BANORTE Móvil, banorte.com y en sucursales.
BANORTE 125 aniversario.
esa app Soy Cliente GNP, descárgala, regístrate y accede a promociones, eventos y talleres exclusivos. Desde la app puedes consultar, descargar y pagar tus pólizas. Obtener orientación médica 24/7 con Médica Móvil. Acceder a tu tarjeta digital si tienes seguro médico GNP. Si tienes seguro de auto GNP, puedes solicitar asistencia vial. Guarda tus datos en la guantera digital. Disfruta todos los beneficios de ser cliente GNP. Vivir es increíble.
No lo quiero, lo necesito. Que mis viajes sean perfectos. Hacer todo desde donde esté. Que me reconozcan en todo momento. Tener ventajas en cada compra. Contrata tu tarjeta de crédito Banorte en Banorte Móvil, banorte.com y en sucursales.
BANORTE 125 aniversario.
Welcome back to OTOMI. Our final international class of the weekend is our BANORTE Meter 40 Classic, the jump ball format class here. And we have seen our first group of riders, and Nicole Velasco Magaña and FC Okada and Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo and Helios Dihiem, the double podium finisher already this week. They are our only two double clears. We've had several clears with time penalties against the 80 seconds time allowed set by designer Guilherme Jorge. We get back to the action with Manuel Gonzalez Dufresne. As well, Tokyo Olympian, partnered here with Delicia SDN, a meter 40 top 5 finisher in the 2-star at Jalapa last month. So of course that Manuel developing throughout the winter season. Just getting ready for the series of games that will lead up here in the region to the Pan American Games in Lima, Peru. And of course onwards to an Olympics in the Americas as well, with Los Angeles 2028. And indeed, I think I saw a number the other day that we are just now about 1,000 days away from the opening ceremony of the LA 2028 Games. Quite incredible. This looks locked in. The only question is the time. They are a little snug and they are going to be over. It is clear for jumping one for time. Manuel Gonzalez Dufresne becomes the third rider now to pay that penalty from the clock, having otherwise jumped clear over the track with a single time fault, I mean, because we do have those several others with 3 for time as well. So a good bit away from the 80 seconds time allowed. But, you know, it is really underlining what a competitive class this is. Manuel and Delicia actually becoming our fastest single faulter in 80.22 seconds, 2 hundredths faster than Ana Barra Garcia. So we carry on with Rigoberto Aldana. Candela de Olimpia, the ride here for Rigoberto. In a Pan American Games rider. That was when the games were here in Mexico, most recently in Guadalajara in 2011. Guatemalan rider Rigoberto rode at the International at Puebla at the beginning of September, and also rode in the 2-star tour this spring at the Longines Global Champions Tour Mexico City. As you'll be hearing from the audio from the microphones out there on the jumps, you'll see from the flags, it's a very, very windy Sunday here in OTOMI. It's a fence we haven't seen gone too frequently, but this whole line up to the rocks double at the end of the line, all being very, very influential. So overall, getting the time 78.03, but with the rail, just that one fence down the vertical in the middle of probably our toughest related line, going out the full length of this grass arena here in OTOMI. Rigoberto Aldana for Guatemala and Candela de Olimpia on 4. Alfonso Gutierrez Diaz and Igor C. Can they be clear round number 3? All Mexican jump off as things currently stand. A very international jump off last night in the GNP Grand Prix. 5 in the jump off for 5 different nations. Gutierrez Diaz jumping the double of verticals, going past the in-gate and up to the play do-it. Combination top 5 in the Cadillac meter 42 phase on the opening day of our show this week here in San Miguel. Just turning to the final line. The time should be okay, so Alfonso Gutierrez Diaz and Igor as close as anyone to becoming our 3rd clear round. Plenty have had their dreams come to naught at the last, but not for Alfonso. He is through to the jump off. It remains an all Mexican affair, but he is now the 3rd contender with us. Alfonso Gutierrez Diaz and Igor posting the 0 score, the clear. Mariano Oñate de Cima and Coqueto. We are next to go. Coqueto and Mariano, another combination we haven't really seen throughout Friday and Saturday with us here at OTOMI, having started their international campaign in that Cadillac meter 40 class on Thursday. Horse just potentially reacting now to the wind, as you'll have maybe seen as well when the horses are coming up from the warm-up. It's lower. I mean, this arena sits a little bit on a plateau. You can see that the lake is down a good bit lower than the level of the arena as well, which means that in areas it will be quite exposed. And it also means that if the wind is coming through those exposed sides, you can see on the other sides, we're into the edge of the hill, and we've got tribunes and grandstands and VIP areas supporting the other corners. But if you have the wind coming from a direction that is very open, it will really impact. And we said a little bit about that double of vertical stance of the play do it, is that at times that has certainly been into the teeth of the wind, just asking your horse to turn and jump down with the wind blowing directly at them. So, do we get 2 in a row here? Mariano Oñate de Cima, unfortunately, doesn't look fast enough, even if they do end up clear here with Coqueta. So, just into time. Takes a little bit of a push at the stays in place. It is clear for jumping 4 for time, so that's one of our slowest to be clear with time. So our Belgian rider Laura Brocard, unfortunately, is catching second rail on course here with Ragazza de Santis FT. Laura and Ragazza were in the two-star BANORTE Classic last weekend as well here at OTOMI. Laura as well been in action throughout the weekend. Seen her several times over in the top classes of the week here, flying the flag for Belgium, just giving a real international flavour to our weekend of jumping here in OTOMI. And Laura Brocard, Ragazza will have time penalties as well. 8 for jumping, 3 for time in 82.18. So back to challengers for Mexico now. We're up to 3 in the jump-off as we go to Luis Roque, Martin Del Campo, Louis van Bonnerhoff, and Luis Roque. Top 10 in this BANORTE Meter 40 Classic last weekend. One of 2 top 10s that Leo and Luis Roque picked up during the opening week of the Mexico Fall Tour here in OTOMI San Miguel. Doing good at the moment. The only question is the time. They jump the Mexican Equestrian Federation fence. Head up to this Oxa and now turning back on themselves for the double and the last. Luis Roque and Leo van Bonnerhoff landing at 70 seconds out of the double, so the time should be okay. Do they leave this last standing? Yes, they do. They're quite careful about it, and 76.94 comfortably inside the time. Luis Roque, Martin Del Campo, and Leo van Bonnerhoff are clear and going forward to the jump-off. That doubles our jump-off field in quick succession as we now have our 3rd and 4th riders. They'll come back in the order they qualify as well, and that really made a difference last night under the lights with the 5th qualifier, Nick Pizarro, making the best of his draw and taking the victory. Ovidio Solara and Mugano van Klapskut. Mugano again, a meter 35, meter 40 horse last weekend during our first week of sport here at San Miguel OTOMI. we haven't seen the play do it go down terribly frequently, but again, it all comes back to the difficulty of the lines. And sometimes if you get away with something at the beginning of a line, it's the end of the line that will snap back at you. So Video Yasalara and Mugana van Klapscoot carrying the 4, leaving us still with those 4 jump-off contenders. We're about 3/4 of the way through the starting field. Picks up another rail. Now that's a fence we've not seen go terribly much. Again, you know, it might seem to you that it's out there relatively isolated. It's certainly a long way from the preceding and the following jump, but still the line you have to take, the spot you're on, and the pace you need to be on overall for the 80 seconds time allowed will all play its part in making the Mexican Federation fence there that little bit more difficult. It is just into time. It's 8 for jumping, 1 for time for Ovidio and Mugano van Klapscoot. It's been really interesting as well. Do keep an eye on that Mexican Federation fence the next time we see it as well, where he's put the green plank rails very close together in the middle, just creating a little bit of a visual identity for it. It will look unusual to the horse, which will make them want to look down at it in comparison to the other jumps. And any little difference like that can really increase a fence's technicality, because it is drawing the horse's eye and attention away from the top rail, which of course needs to be their target and their focus. So Arturo Parada Vallejo, this time with Chica BZ. Chica and Arturo were the winners of the Cadillac Meter 42 phase here on Thursday. And Arturo, the winner of the Nations Cup Grand Prix this spring at the Winter Equestrian Festival in Wellington, Florida. Just unfortunately, they're a little bit laboured coming around the corner. They just didn't have a lot of energy and engagement. So they have the front rail off the visa at the beginning of that line. So turning to the final line, carrying 8 then, Arturo Parada Vallejo and Chica. A shame. It would have been nice to sort of follow up the win on day 1 of the Meter 40 Tour then with a place in the jump off today, but not to be, with the 2 down for Arturo Parada Vallejo and Chica BZ representing Mexico. Jimena Castellon and Halu Bay are going to be our next contenders here. First international week for them at OTOMI, but we have seen them last month at the 3-star at Puebla, the 2-star at Jalapa. Not making life terribly easy there for Jimena. Halubay just being a little bit awkward and not offering the rideability. Turning back to a fence that we have seen cause a little bit of problem at times during the opening round here. Yeah, I was just going to say what Jimena really needs is a great, to be in sync with her horse, especially for this line. It's the B element of the double of verticals, not the fence we've seen go as frequently as the A element, but whatever goes, it puts you on 4 falls, and it is therefore out of the jump off, meaning it's still with just the 4 qualifiers. We have, looking down though, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 riders who have jumped clear with time penalties.
12 puntos, 4 por exceso de tiempo, totalizan 16 en 83, 26 para Jimena Castrejón.
So another rider bringing home the faults, including over that Mexican Equestrian Federation fence then, Jimena Castellon. Grand total of 16. So we go to Brazil. Rafael, Augusto, Ole de Barros and Zidane. Zidane and Rafael, top 5 finishers in Friday's winning round competition as a partnership for Brazil. That was a competition presented by Star Medica, and Zidane not far off the money in the 2-star Grand Prix here last weekend in OTOMI, whilst Rafael was riding some other horses in the top tier, the 5-star, including the GNP Grand Prix. So Rafael Augusto Oler is another one to go home clear with the single time fault, about 3/4 of a second over the time there for Rafael. So still the 4 in the jump off at the moment in our BANORTE Meter 40 Classic. Nicolas Rihan, Galaxy du Marais. Of course, in action here in OTOMI last weekend, Nicolas and Galaxy du Marais were 2-star Grand Prix contenders at the Meter 45. And they make it through to the jump off here in the final international class of this 2-week series in OTOMI. Just pushes a little bit up into this line initially. Gets the middle part, and now you can see they do have to just make that slight adjustment in direction towards the rock double. It's not one straight line plumb all the way down the arena. And Nicolas with the 4, unfortunately. So again, not coming back. But will it be just the 4? And will it be inside the time for Nicolas Rihan and Galaxy du Marais? Sadly, it's looking like it's going to be that little bit too slow. Nicolas and Galaxy through this final double, landing at 75, rising 76 seconds, the last to go. And into time, the last day, so it is 4 for jumping and 2 for time for Nicolas Rihan and Galaxy du Marais. Back to John Perez here with King of Pop VK on this second appearance for John in our BANORTE Meter 40. One down earlier on with Due de Menil for the Colombian rider. At one stage that was quite far up the order, but now he was one of our fastest four faulters. It sits in 11th as things currently stand. Well, they had to take a long one there coming out of the rock double, but it pays off. But they are carrying four, unfortunately, John and King of Pop. So will we be seeing any more clear rounds to join our four current qualifiers? Two before the break, two pretty soon after the break. And the time is fine for John Perez and King of Pop. One down for both of John's horses today in the BANORTE Meter 40 Classic, the jump-off format finale for the Meter 40 horses here during three-star week at OTOMI. And we're going to go back to the Rehan family, having seen Nicolas just a moment ago. It is back to Daniel Rehan, Chacun S. Concerte PS. So a group of OTOMI horses here all together. Daniel and Chacun unfortunately paying the penalty right away at almost the very first fence. Already saw Daniel ride for a four faults earlier on with Tentacion LS La Silla. Making it through the rock double. This is going to be so frustrating if he ends up jumping all of the difficult lines, the difficult relationships, and the bigger fences, and it was just the first fence that will be down for them. I think time-wise they're perhaps a little bit too steady, with 75 seconds on the clock landing out of that double. So Daniel Rehan and Chacun S. Concerta is going to be jumping and time faults. 4 for jumping, 1 for time, total of 5. Camille Saad Vega and Candro PS, another Chocamola bred horse out here in Mexico. Camilla had a podium finish in a meter 40 table A speed class in Jalapa with another horse, Magnus Leash. And still on the zero, making a good effort through that second of the 3 doubles on course, with the third double coming on that final line home. I'm just keeping a weather eye on the clock here, though, for Camilla, because I think already we can see that they might be under a little bit of pressure from the 80 seconds time allowed. coming back, potentially about to join the ranks of the clears with time faults. Camila Saad Vega and Candro sighting in on the last. It is clear for jumping, and it's 2 for time, sadly, for Camila and Candro. So again, answering the question of the course, but not within the final question that the designer gets to set that time allowed. So it means that we retain 4 for the jump off. Behind those 4 who'll jump again, 3 with a single time fault, then Camila with her 2 for time, Fabian Sahanis with 3 for time, Jesus Francisco Orantes and Martina Franco Stefan also with 3 for time. And then behind our 4 faulters, we also have a clear with 4 for time. And that is going to sit currently in 19th position, the 4 time penalty score. So Fabian Sahanis, we just mentioned as one of our riders who is clear with time penalties, 3 of them with an earlier ride. Fabian is back with us now with Cozumel. Argentinian Tokyo Olympian, Fabian. Had that good result earlier on this week in the World Ranking 2 phase with Tekken LS, the horse he rode for those 3 time penalties earlier on. And it will be the play do it down, so no clear for them on this occasion. So Sahanis finishing down the order then with the jumping forces. We go back to Juan Jose Zendejas Salgado, Juan Jose and Tikal Elite. A second ride for Juan Jose Zendejas. Tikal second in the meter 40 Cadillac 2 phase on Thursday, the genuine prelude in the schedule of the show for this competition, and Juan Jose in our top 10 last night in the GNP Grand Prix as well, with the top horse this week, Just Nice. You can just see the wind coming across the lake there. Looks like a few kayakers out enjoying a bit of afternoon sunshine as well here on a Sunday. Alongside the horse shows, Juan Jose and Tikal Elite keep the 0 score for the moment. A little bit to the right there, so they're very short. They're just the shoulders glancing off the last fence on their way to the Mexican Equestrian Federation jump. I say very, very little given to you on a straight line in this track either. So all the time you're managing a slight curving distance, you're managing your direction, managing your stride, and Juan Jose has got time in hand here, so just needs to make sure of this last and does so. 77 on the clock. Juan Jose Zendejas Salgado and Tikal Elite joining the Elite. They joined the jump off, and that is number 5 to come back to us, and coming back in the order in which they qualify as well. Great celebrations there from Juan Jose, as this meter 40 classic proving a tough nut to crack for our competitors here on Sunday afternoon. So we've already seen her with an earlier horse for 8 faults, Ana Sofia Legarreta Hernandez and Kansas Santa Rosa. Ana Sofia's top horse, Perla Optima Santa Rosa, in the ribbons, 5th place in the Play Do It Meter 50 two-phase here on Thursday. Ana Sofia on the final line here, clear, but unfortunately time is against her. Just going into time now, 80 seconds time allowed is being snug enough here in the opening round of the Classic. And Ana Sofia Legarreta Hernandez and Kansas Santa Rosa, it will be clear, but with 4 for time. So that's going to be very expensive. It is going to put them outside the top 20, even having jumped clear, because of course all of those who had a rail but were inside the time are better. The way it works, because it is faults and time. So because you've got your faults because of a slow time, you go behind all of those who got their faults for having a rail inside the time. Juan Pablo Peresandi Gutierrez and Tezontle back with us. Prima Donna, the ride earlier on for Juan Pablo, actually electing to retire. So all in now on Tezontle in our BANORTE Meter 40 Classic for Juan Pablo Peresandi. Top 10 in a Visa-sponsored Meter 35 during the 2-star here last week. And just unfortunately the vertical in the middle of that line down. Touches the first part of the double going up towards the top end of the ring, but it stays in place. But the 4 faults now, you know, the best of 4 faults can hope for is outside the top 10, outside the prize money. In 13th position, John Perez and Douay de Menil, our fastest 4 faulter, holding on to that, between our clears coming back for the jump of 5 of them and our clears with 1, 2 or 3 time penalties. So 8 overall for Peresandi Gutierrez and Tezontle, with the rail in the double close to home as well for the Mexican combination. So 6 or 7 remaining on the start list as we go to Augustin Lera. Augustin, who we saw earlier on with Gloire de la Race for 8 faults. This time it is China Blue for Augustin. Second in Friday's winning round as a partnership here. And the winning round kind of a nexus class. You could see a lot of horses maybe jump the Cadillac, then jump the winning round on Friday, and then this Classic. But the winning round also there for horses that maybe jump the Meter 50 on Thursday, the Play Do It. And we're heading on to the GNP Grand Prix. Of course, with multiple entries available, we have seen 1 or 2 Grand Prix horses coming out here on the final day across the several weeks of the Mexico Fall Tour, and that's maybe horses that just need to leave the show on a bit of a nicer experience, having not just had the best of Grand Prix evenings. Augustin Lara and China Blue, once again that line up to the rock double, claiming a scalp here, and in this case it is Augustin and China Blue. So a pair that were podium finishers early on in the international week now with the four faults, no matter how fast, cannot finish inside the top dozen or so. So Augustin and China Blue going into 13th as it currently stands, and actually just faster than John Perez. That is our new fastest four faulter. Back then to Cuba's Rodolfo Moreira Cedeno, this time riding Pepe. And straight out of contention for the jump off, unfortunately, just like Daniel Rehan a little earlier on. It was 4 at 1, a refusal now at number 2 as well. So already very quickly on to 8 faults. I'm afraid that's going to be elimination there early on the course for our latest starter for Cuba, Rodolfo Moreira Cedeno. So just popping a fence mid-course so that they do go out on a nice experience, and they'll be thinking about their program for the forthcoming weeks here. It's the back rail off number 1, the GNP fence, and you can see that number 1's relationship to the in-gate.
En la pista número 45 de este Clásico BANORTE de México,
Eduardo Sanchez Navarro, lifeguard, getting into the last few contenders here in the initial round. So we already saw Eduardo with Mestaga a little earlier on, a winner at meter 40 here in OTOMI last weekend. Lifeguard also in action with us 7 days ago during the course of the show here in San Miguel. Jumping looks okay, time looks okay here for Eduardo Sanchez and Lifeguard. We're leaving this double under 73 seconds, which should get them home Just got to leave this last standing. It's gone for several people who've been in the same scenario, but it's fine for Eduardo Sanchez, and that gives us our 6th clear round. One more than last night's GNP Grand Prix, and a couple more who could yet join them. I think 4 left on the start list here in the initial round.
Yes, that gives us 6 into the jump off. And another one from Mexico, Eduardo Sanchez Navarro, riding a very promising 9-year-old lifeguard.
So Samuel Parro and Top Gun this time. Again, Samuel, a rider with multiple entries here in our Classic. We saw him a couple of times over in last night's Grand Prix as well. He was a top 5 and top 10 with his 2 horses in yesterday's GNP Grand Prix. Another Olympian here starting with us on Sunday afternoon in OTOMI as well. A London and Tokyo Olympian. So Samuel and Top Gun coming home on 4. The time looks okay, so should just be the 1 down. And 1 down it will be. Sneaks inside the 82nd, 79.69 for Samuel Parro with the 4 faults. And as I say, that's going to be quite far down the order. We've got a decent number of 4 faulters. In fact, goes into 20th position. Fastest 4 faulter in 14th for Augustin Lera. So that means that actually 14 horse and rider pairs have jumped clear over this track, but that is with 4, 3, 2 or 1 time penalties on top of, or including then the 6 who have jumped clear inside the time and qualified themselves for the jump off. So back then to Martina Franke-Stefan, who's actually triple-handed in our BANORTE Sunday Classic. Martina and her winning horse from the winning round, Deuce Demerode. Actually, just checking my list, we had Alberto Rijan and Jose Madariaga on an earlier list, but just looking online with Equestrian Digital, it looks like this might be our last contender in the initial round. So will it be 6? Will it be 7 for the jump off here in the BANORTE Classic? A long way off that, so now they just have to tidy up their distance and make sure that they are inch perfect through the rock double. They do so. Martina flies around that corner to the Mexican Federation, just a little bit conscious of the time. Don't think she needs to be that worried. She is motoring. Really took advantage of that winning round format the other day, and now was so close to being the last to go in a very good jump off. It is the back rail of the final fence, the last rail on course for Martina Franco, and that with Deuce Demerod means that they unfortunately will sit out the jump off to come, and it is 6 coming back to us the way things have broken out.
For you, Martina, but sadly just with 4 penalties in the time of 75-65 there for Martina Franco Stefan.
So you can see our ring crew from Team Azteca working alongside Guillermo George and co-designer Benjamin Fernandez of Mexico, already starting to move some of the materials and set up the track and open the lines for the jump off, where Nicole Velasco will be our first to go. Nicole Velasco Magana and FC Ocala, followed by Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo Barragan. And then our third, they were the only two to qualify from the first half of the draw. Then it was Alfonso Gutierrez Diaz and Igor. Luis Roque Martin del Campo with Leo van Bonnehoff. Juan Jose Zendaya Salgado was our fifth qualifier with TCAL Elite, a combination we've seen go well this week. And then Eduardo Sanchez Navarro and Lifeguard took the last ticket to the jump off and gave us the starting field of 6. So to say, we will take a pause once again. We'll let the riders prepare themselves and re-warm their horses up. Of course, we've got a little bit of work to do in the ring as well, moving some jumps, opening some lines, ready for that short course. So don't go too far away. We'll be back to the action in a short while here at OTOMI to conclude our second week of international sport in October.
course designer, Guilherme from Brazil. He's tested our riders over the last 4 days of jumping, and it's just been a fantastic week of jumping. We hope you enjoyed it too. We still have this very exciting 3-star, what we can afford to test those jump off to trouble in a matter of moments. So massive thank you to absolutely everybody in the arena for making it possible and keeping it around absolutely perfect.
We have a new leader.
So welcome back. We are welcoming our first of our contenders for the jump-off here in OTOMI, the final international class of the 2 weeks here. And it is going to be Nicole Velasco Magana and FC Ocala who get us underway. Guilherme Jorge setting the short track, which is going to start out over a new fence mid-ring at number 15, then follow the track around 5 to 6, then down 8AB, which has been the rock double. You just see it actually there. Before carrying on around the course to 9. Then it's around to a new fence 16 and then back to number 3, which we just pass at the moment because it has been rebuilt in the colours of BANORTE, the sponsors of our Meter 40 Classic. So we had a very, very good challenge from John Perez, actually, as first to go in a 5-horse Grand Prix jump-off last night in the GNP Grand Prix. Ended up with just the 3 double clears in the final analysis for the podium placings. Really opening up here down this what's now a very long line to the rustic double, landing at about 21 seconds out of that to the GNP, back to this new fence now, the green and white, and then flicking around towards the last, the BANORTE. It is going to be clear. It is clear for Nicole Velasco Magana and FC Ocala. So that sets the standard 39.05, our time to beat.
0.039.05 el tiempo que imponen el desempate Nicole Velasco y
Yeah, it's on a fantastic way. 2 staggers, 4m40. Clasico, sponsored by BANORTE, here all the way in a time of 39.05.
So carrying on then, Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo Barragán and Helios de Hiem. 2 classes so far this week, 2 podium finishes for Juan Carlos. Of course, it's a 1 in 2 chance now that he's made it through to the jump-off that he gets a podium once again, with 6 in the jump-off and of course 3 steps on the podium. The question really for Juan Carlos, the question for them all is, has that time from Nicole Velasco just put the pressure on that we're going to start to see as people chase it, people pulling rails out there? 39.05, the line in the sand from Nicole Velasco. And landing out of the rock double about 20-21 seconds. So the Visa on this long push down to the rock double themselves now, Juan Carlos and Helios. Perhaps a little bit up. Across to the GNP, going to pick up another new fence now. And on towards the last, 39.05 to beat, Juan Carlos Alvarez and Helios de Hiem. Oh yes, 1/3 of a second faster. He is into the lead, 38.75. Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo Barragán becomes the one to beat here. It is a full Mexican starting field. We had a very international field, but our 6 clears all coming from Mexican riders. Guaranteed a home victory. The question is, whose name will be on the BANORTE Meter 40 Classic here at the conclusion of our 2nd week of the Mexico Fall Tour from OTOMI. So it was just Nicole and Juan Carlos who qualified before the halfway break. Pretty soon after the halfway break then we got 2 more qualifiers. The first of them, Alfonso Gutierrez Diaz with Igor C.
Entra a la pista de México, Díaz,
So next to take it on, we got from Mexico, Alfonso Gutierrez Diaz, Igor C. And trying to be 38.
So now to take on the 38.75, Alfonso Gutierrez Diaz and Igor. It's very interesting how Guilherme in almost every class, you know, and you look at how the course has jumped, what has been difficult, what has been influential, and then you pull out his short course and start to analyze that, and you find that those fences reappear. The rock double, so influential in the first round, and Alfonso Gutierrez Diaz becomes the first to pay the penalty in the jump off. But I don't think there was any doubt in anyone's mind that somebody was going to have problems there, as they would really charge down that long distance, because there's been a fence removed from the distance, and be conscious all the time of the time taken. 4 falls in 42.75 for Alfonso Gutierrez. That goes into third at this stage, and it helps make it more possible that Juan Carlos Alvarez and Nicole Velasco might end up with podium placings as a result of their double clears. We've seen three more to see here in the jump off of the BANORTE Classic. So Louis Rocque, Martin Del Campo, and Leo van der Bonnehoff. So if they are clear, they need to be landing out of the rock double about 19 or 20 seconds. There was only a third of a second in it between Juan Carlos Alvarez and Nicole Velasco at the moment. Just scuttles a little bit into the base of the first. They need to just be a little bit more alert, a little bit crisp off the ground. Strides down to the double and a little slow, 22 seconds landing. So Luis Rocque might not be able to make a big difference here to our leaderboard. Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo might feel comfortable enough out in front as things currently stand, and yet we are into time. 2.25 seconds slower, 41 on the nose for Luis Rocque going into third place. So we have our 3 double clears from our first 4 starters of 6 in the jump off. What happens next?
Yes, a beautiful double clear too. The second round there, 41.00 for Luis Martin del Campo and Leo van Bonnehoff.
Penultimate pair of the BANORTE Classic and of the International 2 weeks here at OTOMI this autumn. Juan Jose Zendejas Salgado, Tikal Elite. Yeah, it is Edu Sanchez. Eduardo and Lifeguard. $38.75 to beat. So we're guaranteed a Mexican win. Only 3 double clears out of our starting field so far. Just keeps the pressure on, pushes up towards the play do it fence. 12 strides again, right on the money time-wise. Eduardo Sanchez Navarro, Lifeguard. Could they just sneak out in front of Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo? One to go. 38.75 to beat. It is, of course, going to be very, very close, but unfortunately it is just the wrong side of the line. 39.60 for Eduardo Sanchez Navarro and Lifeguard. And in fact, it's so closely stacked. That is going to go into third place for Eduardo. So just the one remaining. Our final rider was a top 10 finisher in our GNP Grand Prix last night. Rides the horse that gave him a world ranking class podium finish on day one of this week of the show. Tikal Elite, Juan Jose Zendejas Salgado, joining us here in a moment in the main ring at OTOMI to wrap up our week of international sport. So say just one contender away from completing the whole show. The gate opens. So we should have Juan Jose Zendejas Salgado and Tikal Elite joining us here now, knowing exactly what they have to try and do. Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo, our leader with Helios Tehiem. Already a winner earlier today in the young horses, Juan Carlos, and a double podium finisher. So is it mission impossible, or could Juan Jose Zendejas Salgado and Tikal Elite run away with this class? Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo, Aragon and Helios Tehiem, the ones to beat in 38.75. Positive start up to the play do it, going up towards the lake into the teeth of the wind. Has been its own influence on the result of this class. Just sitting up and balancing the last few strides means that they are right on the mark time-wise. A late rail through the rock double, so Zendejas cannot take the victory. Yeah, you see the front rail there off the B element. I think he's still going to get home faster. 38.4, 38.37 to be exact for Zendejas, and that unfortunately with the rail is going to go into 5th place behind our double clears. But what a challenge from Zendejas, proving that the time could have been beaten, but for all the balancing strides and check he took on the way down to the rock double, it just didn't pay off. So Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo Barragan and Helios Tehiem, they are our winners. Nicole Velasco Magana and FC Okada Trailblazers ending up in 2nd place. Eduardo Sanchez Navarro Lifeguard in third with a double clear. And just off the podium with a clear was Luis Roque, Martin Del Campo, and Leo van Bonnehoff, with our last to go there, Juan Jose Zendejas Salgado, taking fifth on with Tikal Elite 4 in 38.37. Alfonso Gutierrez, who was our earlier on in the ring, Alfonso Gutierrez Diaz and Igor rounding out our top six then, and we go back then to the results of round one for Manuel and Anabara Garcia, Rafael Augustus Ole de Barros, and Camila Saad Vega with 1, and then for Camila 2 for time with the clears. So awards coming up here in a few moments in the main ring at OTOMI to complete our week of sport.
Y mientras esperamos a nuestros ganadores, queremos aprovechar este espacio para agradecerle al señor Daniel Lozada, a Francisco Pérez Meneses, a Eduardo León, Sergio Nieto, Alejandro Bonita, a Mario Méndez, Jessica Pech, a nuestros diseñadores, Guillermo Olvera, Benjamín Fernández y Martín Azteca. También agradecer a las oficiales, Carola, Betty, Ariana, a nuestra
Well, a super 2 weeks with us here in OTOMI with Fede Fernandez taking that 5-star Grand Prix victory last weekend for Mexico. Nick Pizarro taking the 3-star International Grand Prix victory last night, both sponsored by GNP. Our thanks to GNP, to BANORTE, today's sponsor of the Classic, all of the portfolio sponsors here at OTOMI, to all of the team here at OTOMI as well for producing this fantastic 2 week of shows. And congratulations, of course, to all of our prize winners. And shortly here, going to get to celebrate the success of Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo Barragan, our winner with Helios de Hiem of the final Classic, the meter 40 jump off presented by Banco BANORTE.
Al personal del Centro Ecuestre, muchas gracias, y a todos y cada uno de los jinetes y todo el público que nos acompañó en estas 2 semanas de competencia. Muchas gracias.
Que nos acompañe en esta premiación el señor Daniel Luján, el señor Eduardo León, el señor Sergio Nieto, el señor Alejandro Bonita y el señor Francisco Tello de Meneses, acompañados por los representantes de BANORTE.
So yes, what a way to begin a fantastic week of jumping. For the jump off competition, sponsored by BANORTE. They've been fantastic sponsors of this show for many years. A massive thank you to them. And I just want to say a massive thank you to the team I've been working with, the whole team here on the ground. Team Aztec, and then of course our jury members, Rodriguez, Manuel Catizan, of course, everybody there at George, this week. Great to you all. Makes the show happen.
Me voy a mover, ya tengo caballo.
So our Chief Steward, Gabby, just sending forward the messages. It looks like we've got our riders ready. We certainly have our winner there in the shape of Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo Barragan and Helios de Hiem. And joining us now here in the main ring at OTOMI. Juan Carlos, winner of the BANORTE Meter 40 Classic. And again, a super week for Helios, the 8-year-old by Airborne Monticello, the Sol Francais. Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo's ride for 3 podium positions, 2 previous third places, and now it is a victory in the final class of the week, the BANORTE Classic. Nicole Velasco Magana and FC Ocala will take second. Eduardo Sanchez Navarro's lifeguard, the 9-year-old Dutch warm blood by F1 USA. Also a horse we've seen with Ben Mayer previously for Poden Farms and latterly with Lorenzo De Luca, as well as Emily Moffat for Poden Farms themselves. Luis Roque, Martin Del Campo and Leo van Bonnehoff, the big boy bred Dutch warm blood there, will take 4th. Juan Jose Zendaya, Salgado and Tikal Elite, another horse that's gone very well this week. The La Silla bred by Tequilot, 5th. And Alfonso Gutierrez Diaz and Igor, a jump-off contender, finishing 6th overall. Normally, it is the best 5 coming forward for awards. I think quite rightly with 6 in the jump-off. They've asked all 6 to come back. We start with a recognition of the riders with their horses, including a special treat for the horses, the tray of carrots there for our horses to have their part in the ceremony. Juan Jose Zendaya, Salgado and Tikal Elite just being called forward. Actually ended up with the fastest time, but the unlucky rail through that ever influential rock double, the second of the 3 doubles it was in the initial round. Well, all of our top 4 jumping double clear. In 4th place, Luis Roque, Martin Del Campo and Leo van Bonnehoff. We'll also see our top 3 on the podium in a moment or two as well, but to recognize them and their horses, we step forward, first of all, call forward Lifeguard, ridden by Eduardo Sanchez Navarro, double clear in just under 40 seconds, 39.60 to take 3rd and bronze here in the BANORTE Classic. Our highest ranked lady rider in the class, Nicole Velasco Magana and FC Ocala. Ocala loving the carrots, getting the congratulations there from our team on behalf of sponsors and organising committee, taking turns to congratulate our riders on the horses. They'll all get involved in the podium presentation, and now it is our first opportunity to really recognise Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo Barragan and Helios de Hiam on their victory here in the Classic. A super result for this 8-year-old Sol Francais, Airborne Monticello and Efib Forever breeding on Helios de Hiam. Our top 3 riders now invited to dismount and join us on the podium here in OTOMI. So joining us on the podium, the top 3 of the BANORTE Meter 40 Classic, our final show, competition of the show. Our presentation party stepping forward with the commemorative trophies for our top 3 riders. Plenty more gifts and presentations as well to come for them as they join us on the podium. Eduardo Sanchez Navarro, lifeguard in 3rd. Nicole Velasco Magaña in second, and Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo Barragán in the winner's circle with Helios de Hiem. We'll make sure we get all of the commemorative photos for this podium. 6 in the jump-off, all for Mexico, and that is not to take away from the international nature of this classic, with riders for Cuba, for Argentina, for Belgium, for Uruguay and Colombia all in the field, and of course Brazil. But it is Mexico that were always going to be the winners. It is Juan Carlos takes the win, and for him the national anthem now of Mexico. Congratulations then to Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo, Helios de Hiem, and all of our podium finishers, all of our jump-off contenders, all of our competitors here across this week and last at OTOMI San Miguel as well. And handing out the champagne now, ready for the champagne spray and the toast for our podium finishers here in the Classic.
Salud Pacato, salud Nicole, salud Eduardo por este triunfo.
A richly deserved toast then for our podium finishers in the BANORTE Classic, led of course by winner Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo Barragán, and Tom Lawler stepping forward now to catch up with our riders.
Really stepping up and very competitive.
Yes, actually it's his first Classic, so it's his first class that I do, you know, at this height. So I'm really, really happy. I've had him for a little bit less than a year, and he showed, you know, the power, and it was a really nice class designed by Guy, and obviously the competition was incredible. So I just want to say thanks to the organizers, thanks to the judges, thank you, and thanks to everybody. Yeah? It is great to close with this, you know, in this note.
Yeah, no, it sure is. What a way to end the competition, ladies and gents. In third place, Luis Martin del Campo. So our lady finishing in second place, Nicole. What a super horse, and you've had this horse for a good few years now and some good success over the last couple of years.
Yes, I've been with Ocarla about 5 years ago. I really enjoyed both of my rounds today, and I am very happy to be here in Otomi. It's always such a beautiful show and very well organized.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, in second place, one for the ladies, Nicole Velasco and Ocarla, and our winner, Juan Carlos Alvarez. What a fantastic horse. He's an 8-year-old and very promising, and also very bloody quick.
Yes, it was a wonderful week for my horse, and it was a great competition with all these very fast friends going in the jump-off, and we were lucky that Juanjo had one right down, so very happy.
Yeah, you must have been a little bit nervous now in the pocket watching him come down to the last. He took a stride out, and but you held on.
Yes, it was a great class, and it was a great show, a great week for me, and thank you very much for the organizing committee and everything.
Here, and I think that deserves one more round of applause to our organisers here as well today, so we thank them very much for everything. So ladies and gentlemen, one more time for your winner, Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo, the winner of the 1m40 Classic, kindly sponsored by BANORTE.
So wonderful to hear there from our top three, and quite rightly paying great testament to the organisers here at OTOMI for their hard work and brilliant success in delivering these 2 weeks of sport. And really, you are under pressure. You have a lot of focus and eyes on you running at the 5-star level, which they did to great success last week in a wonderful result with Feli Fernandez taking the Grand Prix, and then this week following up with another very good week of sport across 3 rings. We've of course been watching the 3-star, but there's been young horses, national classes, so a very, very busy week with of course that win for Nick Pizarro last night in the GMP Grand Prix, and now here a win for Mexico as well in the Classic for Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo Barragan, taking the Meter 40 Classic presented by BANORTE. And here on behalf of the organisers, particularly paying reference to Team Azteca and the course design team here in OTOMI this week and over the last 2 weeks with Gerard Lechat last week designing, and this week Guilherme Jorge, Olympic designer from Brazil.
Y bien, ahora encabezados por el ganador de este clásico Banorte, Juan Carlos, ¿dónde andas? Felicidades, jinetes.
So lap of honour time, felicidades indeed for Juan Carlos Alvarez del Castillo Barragan and Helios Tehia. A wonderful and an absolutely perfect winner. A horse very much on the up, just 8 years old. The exact sort of horse that should be in this class and doing well in this class, and one we'll keep an eye on the future after a 3-podium week here. 2 third places and a win finally in the Classic for Juan Carlos. Nicole Velasco Megana in there, Eduardo Sanchez Navarro from the podium. In 4th it was Luis Roque, Martin Del Campo. In 5th, Juan Jose Zendejas Salgado, Alfonso Gutierrez Diaz rounded out our top 6 based on starting in the jump off here with us this afternoon. So the conclusion of 2 weeks of sport in the Mexico Fall Tour, and it all comes down to this, jumping on a windy afternoon here, but it's still a beautiful sunny autumn Sunday as the Mexico Fall Tour completes after 2 weeks of incredible sport here in OTOMI. So thank you very much for being part of our broadcast, whether it was just today or whether it's been across the week, and my thanks to my colleague Killian Thornton for looking after business last weekend during the 5-star Grand Prix as well. We have a look at the jump-off round from Juan Carlos Alvarez, and of course with Helios, so early in the draw. He was our second clear round, so it was difficult to know at that point whether he would actually have done what it took. Going down here, they were mostly getting down at 12 strides, landing and 20 seconds out of the rock double. Just 2 fences to go at this point in the jump off after the GMP, going back to the rock double to jump the new vertical, and that will be all of meter 40, maybe a shade over, and then pushing on to the last to the BANORTE. As it turned out, the time was bested, but at the cost of a rail. So Juan Carlos Alvarez and Helios Tehia were our winners. And thanks to the entire team behind the production here this weekend between OTOMI and Equestrian Digital as well, for making this a great pleasure to bring you the action of OTOMI. And we look forward to bringing you more Mexican sport at the highest level in the very near future. For the moment, from me, John Kyle, and all the team, it is goodbye for now.
We have a new